when I was thinking about getting out, I was thinking about food and girls. You know? I was actually thinking about a cob loaf. I was like, fuck, can't wait to have a cob. Mum had one waiting at the gate for me actually when I got out.
You're listening to Locals Only, a Sunshine Coast-based podcast focusing on profiling the best young and emerging business owners the coast has to offer, showcasing the journey of the next generation of movers and shakers and the ones to watch as they set the benchmark in small business. This podcast is sponsored by Local Property Group.
Callan Krause,
hey, mate.
AKA the Liver King 2.0, right?
Yeah,
I thought you'd like that one. Liver King, not on the steroids.
Nah, Liver King without steroids, but I do eat a lot of liver. I actually ate some liver right before I come here.
Did you? I bet you did.
And brains.
Oh, man.
Yeah, in capsules.
Liver King's got nothing on you.
But in capsules, fuck, I'm not eating it raw. Like, I'm not there yet. But yeah.
Mate, welcome to the podcast, Locals Only, episode 3, my man. Thanks for joining us to begin with. How are you? How's business?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, man, business is good. It's sort of like, I feel like recently it's just sort of unplugged out of the matrix a little bit and don't have to do the 9 to 5 as much. So that's, for us, that was the dream.
Yeah, cool. So what do you mean about that? Like, you've gotten into that flow state of just...
Like, pretty well not having to go to work for the hour as much. You know what I mean? Like, I used to just charge for the hour and have to be somewhere. Now it's like, oh yeah, we can just go on my phone, post a picture of a parasite or something, you know what I mean? And that pays us more than us going to work.
Yeah, sweet.
But I still love the craft of what I do. So, and I know that's what everyone follows us for. So I'll still work with people, but just less, man. Because once you do enough of it, like once you do enough of anything, fuck, you get over it, really.
Yeah, for sure.
So I still love the art of like working with people's bodies, but I just want to do a couple people a week, really. Yeah.
So Corrective Culture, we're going to dive. We'll probably park that. That's obviously co-owner of Corrective Culture.
Yeah.
Got a podcast and stuff as well, which we'll dive into and tell people where they can find that. I want to park that for a moment because what I want to, I guess, dive into today, and I guess the purpose of this podcast is young, local business owners, up and comers, doing some cool shit. I've followed your journey. You know, we first met maybe 10 years ago or something.
Somewhere at a party in Brizzy,
man, yeah. Rhiannon Lynch, shout out to Rhiannon Lynch. The glue of probably the coast.
Yeah.
And we didn't really keep in touch, but I've followed your journey. I'm sure you've probably followed mine a bit as well. And yeah, man. So I thought it was cool to get you on. I think the first 2 episodes have probably been a bit faster pace. I'm really looking forward to having a chat about you about mindset. Routines. Like, I think you're an absolute animal with some of that stuff you do. So I want to dive into that. So let's park all that for the moment. Let's learn about Callan Krause and your origin story, bro. Let's hear about growing up, family life. Tell us a bit about that.
I grew up in Watala, grew up on the sunny coast, born in Nambour actually, where we are right now.
There you go.
I've only been here probably 3 times in my
Me
life.
too, bro. Yeah, I was born in Nambour as well.
Yeah.
We came out all right.
Yeah. And
jury's still out, boys.
Yeah. So I just grew up with my mum, my sister, my dad. He was around, but he was in a separate house. But pretty well the whole, like, everyone follows me for movement stuff, like body. I work with, for people listening, body pain, like back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain. But if through the Czech Institute, sort of like a good way to understand is almost like a holistic physical therapist, right? So it's almost like, well, it is physiotherapy, really. I use a lot of physiotherapy, but in my own way, and learning from mentors, taking things from these people and taking things from those people. Because I remember years ago when my mentors said, I go, where do I start to learn? Like, this person's work, or do I go to uni and do this or this? And he's like, nah. He's like, just find out who the best in the world is at what you want to learn about and go hang out with them. So that's literally what I did.
So let's go back a step though, right? So like holistic health services, that's what you said, right? Holistic
physical therapy.
Physical therapy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where did the knack come for getting into that, right? So I'm assuming, like, straight out of school, like what were you doing out of school? I mean, like... Yeah,
so it's actually my dad, and it's funny now, like, my dad was into this stuff called Feldenkrais. So my whole life growing up, I rejected Feldenkrais, right? As in, I just heard him talking shit about body movement, and he's a bit of an old tripper, old hippie sort of dude, right? Like, hasn't worked my entire life, sort of thing. Like dull guy, but he's sort of still sharp, and he'd look at someone and he'd tell me, like, how many ways do you reckon you could sit on that chair, and like see that person's posture, like what does that say about them, and like just inquisitive. And about their emotion, you know, like if they're all rounded, how signs of fear, or if they're really open or whatever. Just curious, and that's, I guess, it sparked a way of thinking. And then I didn't even care about that stuff, man. Right? Like
this is early days.
This
right?
is like
junior,
I can't even remember
Bromwich stuff.
Yeah, the whole life, you know, since adolescence. And then he's still like that. We still talk like that. And then even when school, man, like I got into CrossFit at when I was like probably 18 or something, 17, right when it sort of started. This would have been like 2009. Like CrossFit wasn't really a big thing then. I think it was like one on the coast. And I started that, and that was my intro into working out. Like I played rugby before that and stuff, but it was just footy, you know, did it with the boys. But that was my intro to working out, and I loved it. And I used to think I wanted to open a CrossFit gym.
Yeah, wow.
Which now it's really opposite of what I want to do. Like, because what it gave me was movement, a taste of how to move the body, but there was no connection to my body. And I was working out when I was sore. Like I was sore, my legs couldn't walk. And then I was doing a leg workout the next day because that's what the workout said. And then I'm just watching people just drop like flies around me, thinking it's normal, and like not sleeping right, all this sort of shit. My shoulder was getting sore, and I was only like 18. And all these symptoms were popping up. But since making my body look good, I was like just stuck in that. And then the way we actually sort of, that's right. I skipped it. I know, as you know, a little bit after that party stage, I got caught. With 100 pingers, caps, MDMA caps.
I wasn't sure if you want to dive into the details. No, man, I'll tell you what, like we laugh now, but it's, mate, this is also resilient stuff, right? Like I want to hear about like what you've been through and you've come out the other side, right? Because you're not the only one that's
for sure
been through some shit.
Yeah, and I used to think, fuck, if you go to jail, you fuck, you know, you got this record and shit, but I realised that's not that true. You know, I can't go to the States, but I probably can if I fucking throw enough money at someone, you know what I mean? And I got caught with 100 pills, going to a festival, not going to the festival.
How old are you at this point?
I was 22 maybe when I got caught. Yeah. 21. 21 or 22. 2014, yeah. So got caught, got 100 for me and my friends, and I was sort of selling pills then to my friends. It was like in a weird way, I didn't think of myself as a drug dealer, but it was just an opportunity for me. It's the same mindset I have now. That was just the one that popped up, and it was just the circle. Yeah. So the funny thing was, I was probably the one that took the least amount because I saw it as like I'm just burning dollars, you know. Yeah. And then I got caught. Funny, a cop that caught me is a cop I did CrossFit with too. So I was just, he saw me and he's like, oh man, he's like, right. He goes, you won't do any time. Like, don't worry about it, you know. But and the guy I got it off, he got caught. They were watching this guy's house, and they got everyone that went to his house that day. And anyway, a year later, went to court for it. Was a saint for a year. I was doing drug tests twice a week with some like government thing just to show the judge that I'm all good. I was working full time. Everything was sorted, but I didn't pay for a lawyer because I hid it from the family, and I just didn't have the money to because the cop told me I wouldn't do time, and I just got a duty lawyer. And there was just something sus with him, I was just like, I don't know what it was, but he just wasn't very passionate at his job, obviously. And the judge was just like, 2.5 years.
Wow.
And you get, court ordered parole in 7 months. So I had to do 7 months of that. Yeah. And that was a huge shock at the time. Like, I honestly, when I went...
22 years old, man.
And the good thing was, I guess, I wasn't expecting it, so I didn't have to think about, fucking going to jail soon. Yeah. Like, I had a surfboard in the back of my ute, ready to go for a surf after court. That's how confident everyone was. Everyone was. So I just didn't expect it. So it was a real immediate like shock to the system. And I remember just seeing my mother cry. Like dad just sort of punched me in the chest and said like, be strong. And it was just shock. It was shock. And they take you straight downstairs. And all of a sudden, that's when you really sit with it and you're like, fuck, what's happening right now? Like, am this a dream? And you wake up, like you sleep in this little room, the watch house, Moochville watch house there. Yeah. And there's just people screaming at night, like drunk people coming in. And you don't know how long you're in there for, so I had to do 5 days in there. And that sort of showed me like, oh fuck, like sunlight's a big thing, you know, like grass is a big thing. Like when you don't see the sun for 5 days, it's a bit weird. You just don't think that would ever happen. Yeah. But it was weird. That was actually the worst bit of it, was solitary in there, because that was just like, jail, man, so much easier than solitary. But I'd rather be with 30 killers than by myself, you know what I mean? That's what it feels like, because you just need that social connection. But they sent me to Brizzy, and I did my time from Brizzy, then went Woodford, and then went to the farm. And it was the cool thing was, this all helped. You see how you're being built? It's weird how you see like, hey, where you are now. Like it really brought my awareness of posture and how that matters in everything, especially in like, you know, we can think of it as business, and people like yourselves already naturally would sit and then stand a certain way when you meet someone, because we're all gorillas. We all know this shit already, you know? But in there, you really know it. Because if a guy come in with a shitty posture, he'd get his shit taken from him, you know what I mean? And I'd walk in knowing that already, with like a fake gorilla, like walking so open, my organs open to everyone, and I was scared, but kept me safe. Posture kept me safe.
Yeah, right. So someone comes in sort of hunched over, a bit nervy on edge.
Yeah.
Easy target.
Easy target, yeah.
Right.
I watched the guy come in. He had a bit of a black eye, so someone already smacked him. Come in, just rounded sort of dude. And one of the sort of brothers came up to him and was like, oh, you got a token for me? Which is a can of, used to get a can of drink. And he was like, oh, no, man, it's like for me and my daughter. When she comes to visit, it's like, I can't. It's like, come on, man, you got a token for me, rah. So he gave him a token. And then they all just lined up, and then they all took tokens off him. And he should have said nah and just walked away. And nothing probably would have happened, you know, if he was like, nah, mate, like, and just pretend like it didn't happen. Or a little bit of stand up for himself.
Yeah.
But as soon as you're an easy target, man, fuck, it's the real world, really. You know?
So you're 22, 23 at this point,
Yeah,
right?
22, yeah.
You've just got given 7 months, unexpected. Where's your mindset out here? Like, let's park like the posture stuff for a moment. I mean, again, some heavy ass resilient shit is starting to get built and programmed here. Because ultimately, let's look at it. Let's be cliche for a moment.
Yeah.
You've got the option of going, okay, let's be a victim of society here.
Yeah.
I got fucked over. I'm going to be a sob story for the rest of my life as I've been put into jail.
Yeah.
Or I can go, righto, let's train myself. Let's be whatever. Like where are we at that point in time? 22, 23 is a young age to be...
It was young, so I was pretty in the present moment at that stage. And you sort of are in your head at that stage. Like, I was just thinking about the next day. I wasn't thinking about... When I was thinking about getting out, I was thinking about food and girls, you know? I was actually thinking about a cob loaf. I was like, fuck, can't wait to have a cob. Mum had one waiting at the gate for me, actually, when I got out. And I'm not a cob loaf frother, but that was just like, I just want something, you know? You're just having all this shitty food all the time. I was training hard, man. Like, because I already had that CrossFit background in me. I was training probably the hardest I've ever had in my life, because you're eating nothing but carbs, and like everyone gets fat
inside,
in there. And you think you're going to get hell fit in there, but people don't. People get fat in there. And because you don't have weights or anything, so you just got body weight stuff.
Yeah.
People jump on your shoulders, you do squats. I was teaching the boys some of the workouts, and I was already a blue belt at jiu-jitsu at that stage, because I did jiu-jitsu too. So that I guess that came with the posture, because that made me feel a bit safe, because all fights in there are one-on-one. So jiu-jitsu is really good for one-on-one, but it's not great for 1 and 2, you know, as you'd know.
Yeah.
So it's just grappling. So I knew that, if someone came at me and they don't know jiu-jitsu and their back hits the ground, it's over. Because it's like any martial art.
So you're semi-confident, right? So
yeah, I had a bit of confidence.
Any scuffles while you're in there?
Nothing. There was a dude that just tried to like staunch me for some noodles and tuna, but I sort of staunched him back a bit. Nothing really came from that.
So confidence has got you through this, right? Let's go back to day one. You walk in, chest out, having a bit of bravado about you. You knew in the back of your mind, you knew some jiu-jitsu, you knew how to handle yourself if something came out.
Yeah, it kept me safe.
So let's, I guess, 7 months in, where are you at? So let's go like a week out, 2 weeks out before your end date.
There was a stage there that I was running, I forgot about this, yeah. So there was a guy named Stan, big guy in the unit, big Samoan dude, and I was actually friends with him, played chess with him, and he was bringing in, or everyone brings in Subutex, which is the heroin substitute, and they all boot that up in there. So they all have Hep C. I didn't touch any drugs in there. Obviously, I wouldn't I don't even know what that is, you know?
Yeah.
But I was the only one at the workers unit. This is at the end stage. And so I would grab it of someone and bring it in. And it was a bit sketchy, but it was just sort of like, no one stood over me to do that. It was almost like, they're all your brothers. That's the camaraderie. It's sort of like us against the world a little bit, or against the screws.
And if you don't buy into that, you're fucked.
Well, I pulled out of it, and then like I was like, oh no, I'm not doing this. I got nothing out of it. I don't use, you know. It's not. I don't get anything.
No
from
benefit.
This, you know. Yeah, and then in front of everyone, man, as I walk back to the oval, this big dude, he's like, fucking new fish, dog, and like saying dog, which is the worst word ever to say in there. And I was just like, put me on show, you know what I mean? And everyone put their head down, because it's like they didn't even expect me to stand up to this dude, because he was just, I wouldn't have wanted to fight him. Even with jiu-jitsu, he's just a big boy, like, and one of those guys that's so skits that he'd like probably bash you and then feel really sorry afterwards. That's the sort of way I could describe him. Like, sorry, brother, like, sorry.
Yeah.
But he'd tweak out. But I knew it was just me stopping him from getting his hit. That's why he was tweaking. And I was thinking, that was probably the most intense time, because I was like, fuck, what's going to happen the next couple of days? Like, is he going to run in my cell? Is he going to pour boiling water on me or some shit? And then, man, like 20 minutes later, he just come and apologised to me and was like, oh, it's all good. And someone else ended up sorting it for him. So he got his hit, so he calmed down. So he's one of those guys, and I played chess with him again after that. He was a cool dude. I played chess with a guy that fucked these two dudes, killed him and ate him. So that was pretty nuts. Yeah, his name was Rob.
Man, there's some stories. We probably need an episode 2.
Yeah.
To hear some of these stories.
Oh yeah, and this other dude, it was my tennis partner, and he took 2 guys back at the back of Goldie and made them dig their own graves and shot them both. And he's sort of all over the paper. It's sort of a name, but yeah, that was. And this is what I've learnt from this man. Like, they were all normal people. And this is the whole
on the surface, talking to them. Yeah,
like
conversations.
This is that Jordan Peterson shit, like the devil's in all of us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like they did that because that was their situation, because that was their dad that did that, and you know what I mean. Like it helps me sort of not blame so much and know, they are like that because this guy's fucked up because that's his circle and that's what his dad's some Russian thing, and I saw that he was just stuck in that, and then it was an instant regret for him obviously now. And now he's just such a nice person.
Wow.
Like, they actually turn around.
Yeah.
And who knows when he gets out, right? But it was cool for me to see that. And they're always from the same area, which means something.
Did you always have that, though? Did you always have that level of, like a better expression, let's call it forgiveness, right? Of just going, let's take people on face value.
Yeah, a little bit.
Treating you.
From my dad. Yeah, my dad's a pretty cruisy guy, man. Like, he's sort of strong at the same time. But, like, I've never seen him any crack or weakness or cry or anything. It's just he's strong, but he was always very playful and forgiving. And like, I just listen to so much like Alan Watts and all these sort of philosophers now where, I don't know, you just start to see that people just are, and they're always just fucked up from a reason. And I'm just lucky I didn't have their series of events. And it just takes the stress out from everything. Even all this shit in the world now, it's like, I just think, fuck, the sun's going to blow up in like, 500 million years or something?
Yeah.
None of this shit's going to matter.
Bro, I second that. I admire that. That's 100%. I'm a big believer of that stuff as well. Just
don't get caught up.
Right? Yeah, don't get caught up.
Yeah, don't get caught up. A mentor once told me, don't get pulled too far, don't get pushed too far. Like, don't get too happy, don't get too sad. Just stay.
We talk a lot about bandwidth, right? Bandwidth in terms of mental capacity.
Yeah.
And if you're worrying about, let's say for example, every person's got X amount of bandwidth. If you're worrying about bills and what your brother said to you and what someone said to you at work or whatever else is fucking going on, you're leaving little time to actually focus on you, right?
Yeah.
So if you can extend that bandwidth to go, okay, let's give 10% to all the crap, which crap's always going to come, life's going to hit you in the face, it's going to keep fucking hitting. But just give yourself a bit of slack, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like you're taking that pretty much in full stead and just going, what happens, happens.
Yeah, and I forgave myself, man, for like, I'd actually did a Native American sweat lodge.
Oh, let's dive into that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So there's a guy named Bobby Running Fox out in Goldie, and it was just, I've heard about him, and he's a full like Native American shaman guy, but he's not like all like, he's just like a cool dude wearing Crocs cruising around, but you can see
not got a big headrest on or nothing.
No, but you can see he's on the level too. Like, he doesn't care what you think about him or not, you know what I mean? He's just like, that's an old man, you know? And they just do sweat lodges in their culture to cry it out, whatever it is, just so you don't bring it into the tribe. You just go there, you cry it out. There's like 20 people in this hot rock, so it's a tent, dark tent. You do this all the ceremony shit beforehand where you burn your intentions in a letter and stuff, but you're in a hot tent, there's 20 people, and they just bring a rock in, and then another rock in, and then another rock in, and you're about an hour, and it gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and then you're all chanting and going like chanting, and you'll got rattles, so you can't actually see each other because it's so dark, which helps you free it. And it's crazy what comes up, man. Like, everyone, there's not one person in there that can not cry. That's what it.
Dude, what?
Yeah, it's the energy just builds and builds and builds. And I thought, I was like, what am I going to cry about? I'm pretty happy. And then I realized what popped up was me making my mum cry when I went to court. And I didn't know that was stuck in the consciousness somewhere, but it was just like, boom, clear as day, came up from nowhere. And then like, you hear this one girl cry about her ex used to beat her, and this person's a cat, but they start shrieking, some of these girls and guys in there, you know? And it's just like, you walk out of there and you're like, holy shit, it's like you felt the emotion. Yeah, and it's like, it's done now. And you don't have to like, even if that thought comes back in my head, now I have this reference point now, no, I've already dealt with that. Sweet, move on. And it's like just a little tool. So it was a cool experience. I've never done anything like that.
You feel lighter on your feet?
Oh yeah, and lighter because you've sweated out fucking 5 litres of water. So it's like,
that's gnarly, man.
Yeah.
So you're literally sitting in this tent, right? People doing the chant. So everyone's doing the chant.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you just hear someone hysterically
Shriek.
Crying.
Well, you have a flute or a stick that when you got it, it's your turn to talk and speak, and no one really knows who's speaking. You sort of can, but everyone's still chanting around you. And it's like a one sentence thing. You don't do like a minute. It's like, well, I'm sorry for this, or I'm sorry for mama, and then it just starts escalating, man. And you see people just fall, like you couldn't cry any harder.
So the vibe, it's clearly the vibe of the environment just getting into your psyche and just extracting something out, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't do the same thing if you're by yourself.
Yeah,
like 20 people is pretty nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So for anyone, fuck, I got a client that was in the army, and I've recommended him to come go do it recently because he's got some shit to deal with, and he's going to do it. So
yeah, cool.
That'd be cool.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Mate, let's get into some business stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we're touching on. That's a hell of a journey, man, as well. And that's why I was really keen to get you on, because I knew there'd be some crazy shit you've done. I knew there'd be some fucking hell old wacky spiritual shit that you've done.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff. You know, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
But let's dive into let's get you closer to mastering your craft, as we'd say. So, you know, we're kind of where are we at this stage? Like, if we're following your journey now, we're 24, 25. You're out of jail. Like, what are you doing here? Like, are you still just floating? Are you still partying a bit? What's it look like?
So when I got out, I partied pretty hard.
Making up for lost time.
My mate bought a nightclub in Callan, and so we partied pretty. Literally the night I got out, there was a girl laying there with a line on her, and it was just like she wanted me to do it, and it was just like the night I was the guy that just got out of jail. You know what I mean? So that happened.
Yeah.
So that happened probably for a couple of years, really.
Yeah.
But then you just hit an age, man. I don't know. I just all of a sudden, I think my dad. I heard it on a podcast. 'Cause I was listening to heaps of Paul Chek's work, and that's what I am. I'm a Chek practitioner, and I only got into Paul Chek's work because.
What's he talk about quickly? Who's Paul Chek?
Paul Chek he's a head of the Chek Institute. He's a same sort of thing, holistic physical therapist, just holistic health, right? But he worked with Kobe Bryant, Laird Hamilton, like all the celebrities. Rehab Danny Waisnack when he was like almost paraplegic, man.
Right.
So, and it's cool because they tell the stories. You never hear Paul talking about it, which is
Yeah.
cool. But he's an old man, 60-year-old dude, but that looks the part, jacked, healthy.
Educated or
Self-educated.
Self-educated.
Well, yeah, but travelled around the world for years doing
Yeah.
that with other people.
Yeah,
but
cool.
not uni. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's done very well, you know, now. And basically, I met Jake, which is now my business partner, right, and one of my best friends at jiu-jitsu, and he just said, "Oh, have you heard of Paul?" And I was like, "Nah." He's like, "Oh, well, his work helped heal my back because Jake had a grade 2 spondylolisthesis, so that's where your spine snaps at the base of your spine at the sacrum and slides forward. So it's like your spine's sort of broken and not stacked on top of each other. It slid forward and the spinal cord gets compressed.
Yeah,
it was a
right.
really bad injury,
Yeah.
right? It's if you go to see a physio, generally it's spinal fusion, and he did. He's had 7 times spinal fusion. So, and he's one of the world's best bodybuilders. So he was 21 at the time, and he was like, "Fuck." He goes in my heart, my soul. I just knew I had to do something else. Like, there had to be something else. And he was doing all the physio work and all this sort of stuff. Then his mate said, "Go see Paul. He'll sort you out." And Paul charged like 25 grand. He's in Hawaii or he was in the States, so he couldn't do that. But he found another Chek practitioner in Sydney, who's Donald Carr, one of my mentors. And man, he goes, 2 weeks after seeing him, my pain reduced by about 50%. And then after a couple of months, it was gone. And he goes, and then I was just all in. I was like, all right, fuck, why did this work?
Yeah,
and,
wow.
And nothing else did, you know?
So
And
obsessive study then, self-education himself.
Yeah.
He went down that rabbit hole of just going, let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
Paul
learn as
did.
much as we can.
Yeah, for sure. He just found out the same thing. Who's the best in the world at this, and who's the best
Yeah.
to learn from these people, and just practiced it himself and lived it. You know, I've learned a lot from my own body, man. Like, honestly, heaps
Yeah,
of my own
for
body.
sure.
So then Jake's back injury got better, and then that just sparked something in me, and I was just so interested. So I started researching all Paul's stuff just on YouTube, right? And all about the body and the shoulder and diet and what this food's good for. And for me, it started as a competitive thing. I wanted to have an edge because I was doing jiu-jitsu and that. So
Yeah.
how healthy can I be to beat the person? But
Love
then it just grew into like, I didn't even know how passionate I was about it. And I didn't even think of doing it as a job, man, because I was scaffolding.
Had you done any like anatomy or none of that? You hadn't studied any of that stuff prior to getting into...
No, Chek taught me that.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of it. Yeah, now like I've done.
Well, I mean, we're all self-educated as well, right? We've never,
Yeah.
I'm not what's the word? Professionally educated, or
Yeah.
they call it professional, but let's
Yeah.
be real. We're all learning a shitload more off YouTube videos.
I know. I think the world's changed now, bro.
Yeah.
Like, especially if I think about physio stuff, it's like, fuck, if something new comes out, that's not going to change their textbooks for 30 years.
Yeah.
And what I've now realised is like, you can't learn from someone that's teaching. You got to learn from someone that's doing it.
Doing
still.
it, practical, 100%.
So like, that's what I did. And I learned actually from a physio in Auckland heaps. I just do calls with her every 2 weeks. She's a Chek practitioner too, but she's originally a physio. And man, she's taught me a lot. Susie Neville and Donald and Paul. And then I've got my own theories too. So I made it into my own system now. So the
Developed off what you've picked off other people.
Yeah,
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 and
and
obviously
just
being a practitioner yourself.
Yeah, just having because the main thing with the Chek stuff is it gives you a huge assessment. So it gives you, I have a 2-hour assessment on someone. It's not like a 20-minute thing. Like you measure every range of motion of their limbs, of this muscle, that muscle. So you got this paperwork at the end of like, oh, that quad's 120 degrees and this quad's 130 and that's going to create a twist. And you start to come up with things, theories, and then you play with the person and see if it was right and see if it works. But man, like I think of myself as like, I don't even know if it's real, but I think of myself as like the best physical therapist in Australia. I literally believe that.
100%. Yeah, you got to, man. I just respect that as well.
Yeah, I just do, because I just like, what's everyone else doing? And I just know, I constantly get work where they're just fucked and they're just in years of pain, and they get out of pain if they do the work, because it's them doing it. I'm doing fuck all. They just got to do all the work, and it's hard for them. A lot of exercise, a lot of stretching, a lot of deep tissue work, and most of it, man, is diet.
So that becomes, I guess, when you truly believe internally that you are the best at what you do in the country, if not the fucking world, for all
one day.
Matter.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that gives you then that moral obligation, right? I mean, ultimately, you've got a duty of care to help more people.
Yeah.
And that gives you that for anyone who wants to spring in their step every single morning, that's it.
Yeah.
That moral obligation of getting up and going, I'm the best at what I do. I need to help more people.
Yeah.
This is my purpose. Just keep driving that purpose.
It's clear it's my purpose.
Respect,
It's clear it's my purpose, and I'm just obsessed. I'm passionate about it. So I know it's like, I know that I'm trying my best with whoever's there. So they want that. I'm not just like, oh yeah, go do this exercise, see what happens. That's like some printout. Like every time, it's like they're learning so much about their body that they'll do for the rest of their life. So it's not about me fixing the problem. It's about teaching them to fix any of their problems that pop up in their body for the rest of their life, and taking ownership of how they created that, because they created that problem through their choices.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so you and Jake, hook up, I guess, to a certain degree. You meet each other at jiu-jitsu, and then you kind of just both going down this path of learning and adapting to these new methods and whatever. Or, I guess holistic methods. Then you've gone, look, let's open it. Because you got like a studio and stuff now, right? Corrective Culture, you got a studio.
Yeah, they're pretty big. It's nearly 300 square meters at the gym on the water at Varana.
Yeah.
And it's just, honestly, it's a playground for us. I just built a playground.
So you put up this morning, right? Let's get a nice bath.
Yeah. So we got a sauna there, a nice bath. We've got a projector. So the projector's like night, man. It's a cinema at night. Yeah. And then all my gym equipment, all the foam rolling stuff. It's basically like a playground for me. And we do take clients out of there too. So it's a really nice place that we hang out in. Because as we said before, like we're sort of moving more into supplements and online content, like you said, so you can help more people. So that sort of pays the bills, and another packing company does it for us. We don't actually need a place.
Yeah.
So for us, it literally is a playground now.
So like drop shipping with the is that kind of
sort of, yeah? Like we buy a product.
You're still storing this product?
Oh no, they store it.
Yeah.
They actually. It's like only a few doors down from us though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's.
And is it your, without to be naive here, is it your recipes or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, so you're dead set going deep into the create. So all the typical stuff that you're buying off the shelf, crap, right?
Well, it's just, we just make sure it's as good as it gets, as you can get here. So it's all like, we're one of the only companies that test all the capsules for glyphosate. No one does that, that costs extra money. And everything's organic, everything's heavy metal tested. The girl, Cindy O'Meara, who owns Changing Habits, she is doing it all for us, and she owns a packing company, so they source it, cap it, send it out. But she's like next level organic sort of chick. Like she has a farm in Mullaney that's just like, it's just as good as it gets. If she's involved, you can't get better. You know what I mean?
So was business ever on the agenda? Like
it happened so smoothly and so easily. It felt like I hadn't even worked that hard.
Like would you class yourself? Let's start throwing some cliches out, right? Would you class yourself as an entrepreneur? Would you class yourself as someone who wanted to get into business when you were, 21, 22?
No, not at all, man. Not at all. I wanted money.
Yeah, money. Yeah, 100.
Yeah, but I didn't. I thought, no avenue. It just really naturally popped up and happened. And I just followed the passion. But then now, definitely entrepreneurial. Now I feel like that. Now
passion becomes the paycheck.
Yeah, well, it's like, what else? Now that I thought the lid was down here. I thought I was meant to get a couple grand a week and buy a house and have a missus. I thought that all that shit. Now I realise
not enough.
There's no rules. There's no rules now. Now there's no lid. You can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in manifestation. Almost almost to it's ridiculous now. Like it's like I feel like we can say something now. Like let's find a graphic designer, and then one will come up to us the next 2 days while we're having coffee. Like I really
believe that.
It's taking the piss almost.
Let's dive into that. I want to go deep on that for a moment, because so many people, you hear people can listen to podcasts, people can read books, they can listen to audio books, whatever it might be, and manifestation's a big thing that all business owners and people who are successful, whether they're financially successful or professionally successful, regardless of the point, everyone talks about manifestation. I remember hearing manifestation. I'm 31 now, about to be 32, but when I was 21, 22, trying to manifest a life that I wanted, man, like so difficult to do, right? So if there's like 21-year-olds listening now going, well, fuck yeah, it's all well and good to talk about it, but how the fuck do you do it, right?
Yeah.
And I think, let's go back to training, right? Because hopefully you agree with me here.
Yeah.
It's just training your mind. And let's talk about gym. I say to my guys all the time, that stuff, I think Goggins said it. It's just like callousing your mind, right? You go to the gym, what are you doing? First couple of weeks it fucking hurts because you're callousing your hands. First couple of weeks just talking about manifestation and reprogramming your mind, right? And your mindset. It's like going to the gym. You just got to callous your mind. But let's talk about you, because manifestation, I could hear the tone in your voice and the tempo go up as you started talking about it. When did you get to that point of going, okay, shit's starting to drop now. I'm picturing it in my mind. I'm obsessing over it. I'm thinking about it before I go to bed, as I wake up. What age did that kind of come in? And did you see that transition, or did it kind of just come naturally?
It only started coming when I started taking on clients as, like, when I met Jake, he introduced me to all this sort of different spirituality, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And not, when I say that, I don't mean God. I just mean whatever you want to call it. Like, I try and tell people, like, if someone will see the sun and call it hydrogen and this and that, but I still think, fuck, that's the sun. Why is that there? That's enough for me. I don't need to have a name to it, you know?
Yeah.
So I know that excites me. Just curious. But when I started taking on clients, I was just listening to so much like Alan Watts and Abraham Hicks and all these people on YouTube. And you can listen to it and it's sort of a universal truth. Like, anyone can listen to it and, like, there's truth in that. It's hard to deny it. But there was just times where it's like, okay, this is a good example where it all sort of changed for me, actually. I was at Corrective in the first place, and the Instagram was getting larger. I could see people were really, like, attaching to what we were doing because it was a little bit different. And then I was thinking, I went to the toilet and I was like, I need a Tui balm. There's a balm for massage. I was like, I need a bigger size though. The last one just ran out. I walked into the room and my 2 clients were there with a gift bag just to say thanks, with that exact Tui balm, that size.
The size.
And I was just like, and like, even that brand and that balm, and you know what I mean? And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, wow, okay. And then we said we want a place on the water in Kawana, which is so rare, it's hard to get that, you know? And then one popped up right at the perfect time, right at a month lease, and I was like, oh, well, that's it. And I was like, I know we're going to get it. Everyone's going to apply for it, but I know that's what we want, so we're going to get it. And I literally, like, know it, you know? And then we got it. So it's just happening more and more and more now. So I actually, in my head, man, it's almost like a fake digital world, and you can have anything you want if you know what you want. And
bro,
what I found out,
my language, man.
And what I found out is when I ask someone what they want, they don't know what they want.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's a hard question, man. So when you know what you want, start small. Start like, okay, someone wants to change your life. I want to do this course. I know the next step for me is to do this course. So I need to get money to do that course. How am I going to do it? And all of a sudden your account will probably just start showing that amount of money, and you'll have it. Like, it's just little baby steps.
It's just practice, right? I mean, ultimately the essence of that is just practice. I mean, ultimately anyone who isn't manifesting that at the moment, or manifesting the life, talking their reality into existence, just practice, right? Eventually you talk to yourself. And for the record, I've got mates who just have 0 voices in their head. Now, those guys, good luck.
Yeah.
I as soon as I transitioned my life, hearing all those voices, and you're smiling as I'm saying it to you, as soon as you transition to thinking, okay, all these voices in my head are not a detriment, they're a blessing, that's when that shift, I think, happens. You start going, okay, let's see if I can use these voices as an advantage. People are probably listening to this right now going, you're fucking crazy, bro.
It's always
You've lost your marbles. But honestly, as soon as you learn to control those voices and quieten the ones that you don't want to hear, that's some new shit talking, right?
Yeah, ones that don't serve you, man. A good tip is Carl Jung's stuff is like archetypes, which is the archetype model of what archetype are you playing. And the people that generally don't want to hear all this shit are always the victim archetypes.
Yeah. And
they'll just sit in that, you know, and that never helps you. And victim archetypes repulse everybody around them. You know, this happens because of this and this and you know, all that sort of stuff. It's witnessing that you're doing that. And we all do that in our own way, but some living it higher and less. And there's warrior archetypes and father, mother. It's what character you're trying to play. And and see where you're playing that character too strongly or too negatively or too weakly. Maybe you need to play it better. But that's a really good thing that I looked at, where I had to do years ago actually, is you write down your 3 most dominant archetypes. At the time, Mum was the student, teacher, and the warrior. So you think, all right, where am I not playing that right, or where am I doing it wrong? So I know I'm a warrior. If someone disagreed with me, my voice would raise a little bit or something, and that's not the right answer. You know what I mean? So just a little tip for people listening: see what character you're playing, because that really helped me.
Interesting. No, cool, man. All right, let's finish on a couple of things. One, I want to really dive into routines. Routines in business, routines in personal. I think you're a fit dude. You're healthy as shit. Business is going well. What does a daily look like for you? Let's get into the funky stuff. Let's get into the ball breaking stuff. Let's talk about that.
So first and foremost for me, I have to make sure my health is like number one. That's what everyone's following us for anyway. So if I don't start doing that, what am I doing? So and for me, like, I got to have energy. If I don't have energy, I can't do fucking anything. You know, if you don't have energy, you can have all the time in the world, but if you've got no energy, you're not gonna do or see the opportunities in front of you and say yes to things. So I always make sure like. I'm just want to be as healthy as I can be and make sure I'm always that's checked. If I got work to do, say I'm meant to write a program for someone, but I haven't had breakfast or I haven't done like my morning, if I want to do a workout or something, I know I need to, I make sure I get all that body stuff done, because that's the vessel for me. In my head, that's the vessel for this fucking
I love that terminology.
Whole life,
vessel,
you know? So if that is out the window, none of the shit matters, man. And I experienced it when I had an ingrown toenail. I was thinking, fuck, if someone told me I had this ingrown toenail for the rest of my life, I'd sell everything to my name, because that's how bad it was. Like, and that's just anyone. I mean, I can see a crew with back pain. I can see how it brings them into the present moment, because pain brings you into the present moment to say, listen, why the fuck do we have pain? You need to change something. So it's like, I don't want pain. And I just see so many people come into my studio with severe pain. I'm like, fuck that, you know. And
people have been living with it for ages, right? Because they just don't know where to go.
Seeing so many people, man, just getting cat cows and shit, and it's like they're just so many.
There you go. Moody's your next client.
You don't want to see anyone. I'm seeing you.
Yeah. And there's just so many. Like, there's so much though. There's so, like, if they're having like, say, too much wine at night, then their back will hurt more the next day, and they don't realise that. But then you tell them that, oh, that does hurt more. Or, man, I've had someone where garlic was fucking their back because it made them bloat, and then they bloat, and their cools off, and their back hurts, you know?
Yeah, there
I had
you go.
someone where cauliflower was like constipating her, eggs were constipating this other chick, and these cause all muscle problems too.
Yeah.
So it's like health. Like, you got to make sure that shit's on point.
So that's always number one. So we're diving into obviously physical health, mental health.
Yeah.
Obviously, what you're eating and whatever else. So you're just, that's just your number one every day, right? You're
good conceptual concept that I was taught is just Dr. Diet, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Movement, Dr. Happiness. That's the pillars that you got to look at and see where you're out of balance in them. So movement too much, movement too little. If I'm overtraining, undertraining. My thing was always overtraining. Yeah. So I was doing fighting and shit at the time, and I was like, fuck, I was just overtraining, man. I could feeling depleted. And I'd get sick every like 3 months, and just because I just wasn't listening to when I was tired. Now when I'm tired, I'm like, oh, sleep, I don't train. Like, diet, obviously, is diet. Make sure I'm like, my food is always organic meat, organic veggies, water, good water, not tap water.
Still drinking?
Still drink, but pretty rarely, man. I'll drink to get drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not binging through the week to have a.
No, I won't really drink. I don't really drink throughout the week, and I love red wine, but it hates me. It's like the one thing that just doesn't like. I love it the most. It's just like, I'll get a puffy face the next morning and shit, so I just don't do it now. It gives me headaches and stuff, and then it fucks my next morning, which I'm not going to be as good.
Yeah, not worth it.
So yeah, and then movement, diet, quiet. That's meditation. That's sleep. Right.
So meditating. So you're taking sleep as your meditation. Are you meditating on a?
Oh no, that's
level?
both. It is both under Dr. Quiet, right? Yeah. So whether that's whatever, man. Like, I was in the garden the other day because I'm making this little veggie patch right now, and that was Dr. Quiet to me.
Yeah, cool.
You know what I mean? It just like took you out of everything.
Yeah.
You're like, it's made it primal. It felt primal. Or that could be like going bow hunting or something. Now I'm learning how to shoot some bows. And I realize as you draw back, it's like, oh, I've done this before somewhere in my evolution. You know what I mean? So that was a cool thing.
That's awesome.
And then diet, quiet, movement, and happiness, man. So things that make you happy. And you look at where you're out of balance and all that. So things that make me happy, say going for a surf or whatever, if I want to play a PlayStation game or something. But there's a level that, when you do that too much, that something else is lacking, and your body will tell you, or your brain will tell you. I can do it once and feel right, but if I'm sitting there for 4 hours, my soul will be like, what are you doing? You're meant to be doing this. This isn't your purpose, And that's your body never lies.
I think you're probably, again, we're probably bringing it back to, you've just got to be aware of that. You've got to be aware of that thinking. You've got to be aware of what your body's telling you, your mind's telling you. I think that's probably the first step. Anyone who's not there, get aware of those thoughts, those feelings, and then you can't start controlling it to the level you are. But man, that's fucking awesome. What about, so work-wise, like, do you know, I mean, are you working, are you a 10-hour-a-day guy?
Nah, fuck no. Nah, man, I'm drained. I'll do like 3-4 clients a day now, and I work 4 days a week, so I take Wednesdays off.
Yeah.
And I pulled that earlier because I realised now I couldn't imagine working Wednesdays. And when I say work, I mean I'm not doing clients. I'll still do content or something. You know, that's work for me now. But if I have that midweek off, it's like it recharges me, and I'm excited for the next day. And I can get on top of little things, so like start to weigh down, even like washing or something. You know, that really was a big thing for me. So I work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and I'll eventually take Friday off. Man, I'm trying to our thing really is this content and online stuff. So that's where our work is. We wake up in the morning, want to have a coffee, be done in a couple of hours, and then just get creative with what we want to do.
So where do you want to take it? So obviously you're, and mate, anyone who tells me they're the best in the country, I believe you. You wouldn't have the balls to say it in a public setting unless you truly were. So I believe that 100%. What's the plan now for the business? So firstly, where do people find you? Corrective Culture?
Corrective Culture on Instagram.
And podcast?
And Corrective Culture podcast. Yeah, Jake and I have a podcast that we just talk about all this sort of stuff and interview really just interesting people. And
your personal Instagram, Callan Krause?
Yeah, personal Instagram's Callan Krause. You can just DM that if you ever want to work together.
Yeah, cool. So business-wise, where do you want to take it?
So I want to teach my method to more, which I already have. I've got 4 people working out of the gym that had back pain, that now they're working out of the gym doing what we do. Yeah, and they get really good results too. I'd rather send them to them than a typical physio. You know? So that, and we travel now Australia and soon to be the world teaching posture workshops. So we just sold out Perth, did that, sold out Sydney, we're about to do Sydney and Melbourne this weekend, and we just have like just 30 people in a room just teaching how to posture, right? And we've got a couple of like AFL players coming to that, which would be cool. And really in our supplements, so we're putting out supplements. We do sell a parasite cleanse. More people, we won't get into that, but more people have parasites than you think, right? A lot of people, like you've probably seen the photos that we post all the time. Yeah. And that, man, crazy problem's been solved from people that have parasites. So we sell a parasite cleanse and just supplements, man. I want to push out supplements, whole food supplements, the ones that I take already. I'm taking liver, I'm taking cod liver oil, I'm taking definitely a mix of organs. I'm taking. Where
do people start with that, man? Let's quickly touch on that for a second. If you want to go down that route of diet, where are people? I mean, if you I see some of those Dead Set Liver King videos. And, some of those, like I watched the Barstool Sports one. You know. Anyway, so where do people start with that stuff? Just as a quick.
So I reckon the number one supplement, if I could recommend, is definitely a beef liver, and I take capsules.
Yeah.
I take homegrown primal. We're actually going to make one for men with oyster powder, testicles, and liver. And then for female, we're going to get placenta, oyster powder, and liver. But it's hard to find oyster powder that's not Chinese, so we're in the search for that at the moment. But that's because all you got to know is that it's the most nutrient-dense food on earth. So that should be enough. Yeah. It's like, all right, if I'm a man or a woman, I should probably take the most nutrient-dense food on earth. You know, a few times a week. Plus, it covers all those B12 and iron that everyone's deficient in. So it's just like, and you feel it. If you're someone that's not having it and you have it again, you consciously feel it. I can't notice many sups. I notice liver and I notice the testicles too. A little short story. I gave it to my friend with the testicles, and he had 2 wet dreams 2 nights in a row. Crazy, eh? That's a good sign.
That's manifestation.
That's a good sign from the body. And collagen. I reckon collagen. We're all deficient in collagen, and you notice it within 24 hours. If you just douse up on some collagen, your skin tightens, and it happens really quickly. But I give it to all my clients because that happens under the skin. So connective tissue, joints, bones, a disc is made of collagen. So if you're not eating collagen, you can't expect your body to make it. So that's why, if someone's plant-based, you'll notice their skin fucking always starts to look really stretchy, and they get these like disc bulge things. I just see patterns from people that come in, man. And when you give someone collagen, you see their skin change. Like I'm talking within 24 hours. Plus the science says that too. Skin elasticity goes up. Yeah. But I just reckon that's collagen and liver are my 2 most important ones that I would take.
And to avoid, I remember I reached out to you a little while ago. I saw you post something about, I think it was like olive oil, right?
I'm not sure. Like, did I post something about olive oil?
I think it was. Yeah, I think I said. Anyway, what's any quick tips on what to avoid? And anything like outside what everyone knows about, right?
The biggest things I get all my clients off, especially if they've got pain, and they'll notice it if they have a joint pain or a disc thing, is all vegetable oil. So that's soybean, canola oil, peanut oil, sunflower oil, rapeseed, grapeseed. They're all just canola oil, just a different version of it. That's, you got to be onto your olive oils and your avos and your coconuts or your butter or your ghee. There's so many options, but they will if you have them and you don't have it for a while, you'll notice that it puffs your joints up. And if you can imagine, if there's a little nerve pain somewhere, there's a disc pain or a knee pain, it just pushes on that. And it creates a lot of pain for people, man. So
I think canola oil was one. That must have been what we're talking about. Yeah. Because I was probably hammering that, like, I'm all olive oil now. But I think at the time when I reached out, I think you posted something and I said, what's the go here? And took your advice. I mean, ultimately, I don't think I had any pains or anything at the time, but I'm always just looking for little
just improving, man. And it's in every, like, sauce you go to. Like, you can't go to Woolies and not get a sauce with it. So you get all these bone broth mayo sauces that I use now that are just, coconut oil or bone broth glue instead of canola oil. But fuck, you don't have it for a while, and I think it's something like 7 years it takes to detox from your body. So it makes every cell in your body the fat. It's just a fat, so that will really age people rapidly. So I reckon if you've got some sort of back pain right now, the most important thing would be to cut out all the vegetable oils, and I reckon that's a huge thing, man. I had someone recently meant to get his spine fused. From 2 surgeons told him that, and a month later he's surfing, and all I did was he did the cleanse, and the cleanse for me is really just cutting all that shit out.
Yeah.
He didn't have any parasites or anything, but he just cut all that shit, brought in organic meat, collagen, and just gave him some exercise and a couple of stretches, man. He's out of pain. This whole guy's life's changed. He's about to move to Bali. He's frothing.
That's insane.
Yeah, so imagine if you got your spine fused. Like, that's a big deal,
Yeah. No, unreal, man. Honestly, that was probably went a bit over to what we expected, but I think there was plenty of gold in there, and when the flow's going, keep it flowing, all right? So,
no, loves it.
Callan Krause, Corrective Culture, thanks for coming in, my friend.
Thanks, bro.
Really good to chat.
Appreciate
it. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.